Welcome to this week's edition of the DC Life. I'm your host, Sal Mika. I got my co-host, Micah Frankel. And we had Sunday night fight. UFC Bantamweight title was on the line. Dominick Cruz, TJ Dillashaw. It was going to be an and still regardless. I posted that on my own Facebook because technically Dominick Cruz never lost the title. He gave it up. He was forced to. He cried. Hurt his knee again. His other knee, I should say. He's already come back from multiple injuries.
Man, the worst part of his story was the part when I think he was like, at that time in my life, I was on cloud nine. I had the chick I wanted. Oh, yeah, I hurt my knee, and she left. I was like, ouch, I feel bad for the dude.
Yeah, it's interesting who sticks around when
the chips are down.
When you're really down and out, it's very weird. And some of these guys, it's nice to see that these guys actually live through it. See it, open your eyes, become a better person. Forget about the fight. But let's jump into that main event.
You want to start off at the top?
Yeah, let's start off at the top.
I still don't know if I'm sure who won that fight, but that was a hell of a fight. That's all I know.
I'm going to give you my opinion. That was and still, and I was going for Dominick Cruz. I picked him, but I honestly think the champion, TJ Dillashaw, won that fight. He won the first round. He lost the second round. Lost the third round. Won the fourth round, and the fifth round went his way as well.
You know, literally when I was watching it, I scored it. Forcing me to score it, I scored it 3 rounds, 1, 2, and 3. I thought one was really close. I gave it to Cruz, though. I don't remember exactly why. This is the bad thing about a Sunday fight. I haven't been able to go crazy all day Sunday and rewatch it 9 times to tell you everything I think about it, Sal. But just watching it offhand, when my fiance looked at me, she said, "Who do you think won?" I said, "I think Cruz won the first 3 rounds, but I was not sure." Heck, there was a point where I was watching it, I was like, you could probably score the first 3 to 4 rounds 10-10. They were so close.
Yeah, and they were. It was, and the only reason why Dominick looked super rusty in that first round, for Dominick Cruz, I should say.
I think he looked super rusty throughout a lot of the fight.
And his mouth was wide open at the end of the fight. I thought it was going to be over.
I thought his mouth was wide open at the end of the first round.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not the fight, the first round. The first round, and I was like, oh, he's in trouble. I said, it's finally caught up to him. Showed tremendous heart. I ain't mad at the decision, and I've even had people tell me, this is like Carlos Condit and Robbie Lawler. No, this isn't. This isn't like
this is not. This was 2 volume strikers.
Yeah, so it was a little different in the fact of the way it turned out. Could it have gone TJ's way? Absolutely. Could it have? Did it go Dominick Cruz? Yeah. I don't see where round 1 was scored as a Dominick Cruz round on some of the judges' scorecards. In fact, one judge had it where he was winning. But he had the identical card as I did, except for that round 1. And it's interesting. I forget which judge had it, but because I was looking at the cards. But that was the difference maker. It's round 1.
These 2 guys are so fast, so athletic, and let's be honest, because they're not heavyweights, we don't see the head jerking, the stumbling from every strike landed. It's very hard to count landed punches between these 2 guys because of the amount of ability they both have to slip where it just barely misses. And if Brian Stan was saying this, I believe, on the post-fight, depending on where you are, you can't tell if the punch landed if you're looking at the back of the guy's head or not. So there are some variances in that, and we could say it. The scorecards were all over the place.
Yeah.
One judge gave 4 rounds to Cruz. Another judge gave 4 rounds to Dillashaw. I had it like the original first judge, and actually his scorecard matched mine, 1, 2, and 3 for Cruz. But again, I was almost thinking at the end of the first round, I would score it 10-10 if judges weren't scared to do that. I could have seen the fight going down as a draw very easily. I don't feel it was a robbery. It was that close of a fight that it was hard to score.
Yeah, and by far, it wasn't a robbery. I ain't mad at neither side, whoever won this fight. Again, my opinion was TJ won. I picked Dominick to win the fight. I thought it was going to be a lot easier for him. I was shocked, and utmost respect to the former champion TJ Dillashaw. I thought TJ won round 1, lost round 2, lost round 3, came back in round 4 and won that round, and then sealed it up with the round 5.
Depending on
It wasn't
injury.
but the fifth round wasn't super tied up by TJ, in my opinion either. It could have been open for debate on who won that last round.
Both all close rounds. I think pretty much everybody unanimously had it for TJ, but I think actually one of the judges did give it to Cruz. So close, and it just leaves me excited for the rematch. Does every fight need to have a rematch? No, it does not. How am I saying I'm excited for the rematch? We don't know about Dominic Cruz's injuries yet. The foot, the leg is messed up. Depending on how long he's out for, though, the UFC has set the promotional machine in motion. Uriah Faber was going to get the next fight whether he deserves it or not. He is even a step slower than he was. Cruz is going to beat that ass. Dillashaw is going to beat Assunção's ass and get back that split decision loss he had, and they will meet again later. This is why I'm seeing a rematch, because they will meet, I believe, here soon. It's not automatic, but I'm excited for that, because how much better will Cruz look if he's able to stay active? He was rusty. His output wasn't there, and how much better will Dillashaw's game plan be? Because if he would have attacked those legs more, who knows how this turns out.
Well, that's the key with Dominic. Is he going to be rusty? Because now they're saying he may have been injured in the fight and with a foot problem or issue. How long is he going to be sidelined yet again? And then that comes in point, when is enough enough? After how many injuries and how many times do you have to reclaim that title? If you're injured again at this point and you have to go through another surgery and another layoff, maybe it's time to say, hey, look, retire as UFC champion. There's worse things in life that you can retire off of than being a UFC champion. You know you have a great job waiting for you with Fox.
Well, he has a job next week. I think Kenny Florian gave him his job after what happened.
Yeah, well, Kenny's going to be back. And it's funny because the PC world that we live in, Dominic Cruz had to explain it. I thought it was crystal clear that they're buddies and they're talking shit to each other, back and forth, and
it was hilarious
and the whole thing was started because his friend Kenny Florian picked TJ Dillashaw to win the fight, so that's why he threw that jab at him. That's all it was. It was two friends shooting the shit, talking shit to each other. But in the PC world that we live in, he had to explain it at the end of the fight or at the press conference. I think that's stupid. I think, hey, he said what he said. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Let's go to the next fight. Eddie Alvarez, Anthony Pettis. What were your thoughts on that fight?
Remember how I told you I felt weird being nostalgic for this fight? And I walk away still nostalgic for this fight. I sit here in just dismay. I tweeted it out last night, and it got a lot of retweets to the public. This is not the Eddie Alvarez that there was a bidding war for. This is not the guy in Bellator that we were dying to see in the UFC. This is the guy that was scared to lose his money, scared to get cut, scared to lose his big contract. I'm still dying to see what would happen if, was it 2010 when we were arguing about Pettis, Alvarez, Edgar, Melendez? I'm still dying to see those guys at that time, the way they fight. Because these two dudes, that was just disappointing. Eddie Alvarez humped the legs, grinded out Pettis. I really don't feel like Alvarez even got anything done besides shooting for a lot of takedowns in that fight.
And the same could be said for Anthony Pettis. He didn't get much done either.
In that first round, he landed several good kicks to the body and the legs, and I thought that was going to build to something, and it didn't. And then also on Twitter, because I love Twitter, someone said out there, you notice Pettis hasn't looked the same since the drug testing standards have went up? Just throwing it out there, not making an accusation. But he does look, physically and fights, totally different, even though he tore up the pad session the day before.
I think, everybody's going to start wondering when you have bad fights, you have multiple bad fights. If he hasn't failed the test, it's very, very hard to accuse a guy just because he's had a bad day at the office twice. Because let me tell you, if it was basketball or football and you had multiple weeks, you can have 2 or 3 games that are bad and then all of a sudden have a spectacular game and everybody forgets those 2 games that you had bad. In MMA combat sports, well, it's one-on-one, so it's a little harder when you do have 2 bad performances on your job day, to get up and perform. and it, even acting. Look, the director can't call cut and say, oh, let's restart. So I don't know. I don't know. I think the blueprint was out with Clay Guida when Guida fought him. You can wrestle fuck him to death, and Pettis has no answer to that. He brought in Izzy. It didn't look like it was helping. Izzy screaming at the top of his lungs for one hip on the cage, one hip off the cage, and Pettis just didn't do it.
Well, 6 out of 19, 6 out of 15 on takedowns. How much are we saying he didn't do it? I mean, he defended 9. He stopped 9 takedowns. He let 6 go, and we're also, if you look back at it, a couple of those I think were counted as he hit the ground, he popped back up. There was one round where I think Alvarez had a chain of like 3 together because Pettis kept popping up. So, like I said, again, this is just the fight that we didn't expect to see or hope to see. I know that we're not going to see them stand there and bang, but I was hoping Alvarez's boxing would shine through a little more, and I don't feel like they gained any momentum or won anything from this fight.
Gil Melendez and then also now Eddie Alvarez, they're treating this like a business, and he made a business move.
Well,
last night he made a business move.
He made a business move, and from a guy that liked, Bellator and Strikeforce, isn't it just sad to see that now somewhat?
It is, but you know what? A lot of these guys are going to start doing that. A lot of these, you get ready, because this is the way of the mixed martial arts world. It's a new day. I really believe that a lot of these guys, when they get closer and closer to title shots, or their contracts expiring, you're going to see them win their fights and play it safe. If they can, this is the way it's going to be.
Eddie Alvarez won, and he said, I don't see that there's anything else I have to do to get a title shot. And in my gut, I think that is utterly ridiculous. But because he was a big, high-priced free agent, nothing is out of the realm of possibility.
Sure. And where does he go from here, in your opinion, then?
Where does he go? Khabib called him out right away. I'll wrestle you. I'll wrestle you. You want to wrestle? I'll wrestle. So if you want to step up to that that'd be nice.
But here's the thing. You counter that wrestling. Eddie has enough wrestling to counter the wrestling to keep himself upright and beat some ass standing up.
We'll see what happens.
Possibly. But you know what? He says that he wants to fight, but he's always injured.
He's always injured. But also, we know there's a fight coming up with McGregor, Dos Anjos, and then McGregor, if he wins, has to go defend. Maybe Dos Anjos finally gets a break. Well, even though it's not a big deal, Masamumba, Francisco Trinaldo, who beat Ross Pearson, who we'll talk about that fight in a minute, 5-fight win streak. Benil Dariush, 6-fight win streak. Tony Ferguson, 7-fight win streak.
Yeah.
I ain't saying that those guys that beat tougher competition than Eddie, but I'm saying they got that many more wins that I think Eddie would have to beat one of those young upstarts before he gets
quality wins at that. So.
Right, especially a Tony Ferguson who's coming off of being a Josh Thompson and beating Edson Barbosa. We want to give him a title shot. You want to make something big, you do a fight night in either California, where Ferguson's from, and he made big for Bellator, did Alvarez, or you take it back out to the East Coast, a fight night, a main event for a number 1 contender spot if, Khabib is too injured. Yeah. I'd say something like that.
I'd have to agree. Mr. Ronda Rousey, Travis Brown, Mr. I poke you in the eyes multiple times, and the ref does not take a point, does
Refs
not
are
stop the fight. Last night, he fought Matt Mitrione, Meathead. I picked Meathead to win the fight. It should have been called a no contest. After the second eye poke, did you see him? He looked like the Goonies. Hey, you guys, after that fight.
Okay, that was ridiculous.
Holy
he said,
cow.
I can't see.
Yeah, he said he can't see. He said it was blurry. Me being that I've worked with the athletic commission right there, it would be cut off.
Fight's done the minute he says it. We're not going to give him a couple seconds, have the doctor look at it, review it, re-talk about it, have a discussion, and restart it. That fight should have ended the second eye poke.
The second a fighter says they can't see, every fighter knows this too, because that's their way out. That's their way out without quitting, is saying, I can't see out of my eye, and then the ref says, oh, it's off.
I think Mitrione was too angry.
People get mad and everything like that, and the fighter gets upset. But I really believe he couldn't see, and he had double vision in it.
And he was angry, so he
Yeah.
wanted to continue fighting. They let him go. They sacrificed him. It's a bad loss. Your last fight on your contract. It would have been horrible for no contest, but this is even worse. His eyes fucked up. The last takedown injured his shoulder.
Is it a bad thing for him? Because guess where he can go now and get some decent coin, get a little bit of pay raise, go to Bellator.
Go back to Spike TV where
Yeah.
you made it big on the Ultimate
Absolutely.
Fighter. Who knows? And I just it leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Ryzen,
The fight.
it's not like he lost this fight either, because you can state those eye pokes were the thing that really changed the momentum of the fight.
And then you step in. Is Travis Brown a dirty fighter? In the second and third round, the part that felt bad
Why
to
was
me
he
was he
waving the whole time?
never closed that hand. He never made a fist out of it. He never did anything. You can argue that it's changing his style, whatever, but we've even seen John Jones at least close up the hand and just start punching you away instead of framing the face and pushing away.
Yeah.
So I felt it was dirty. If you watch the press conference, you can find it online. Brown's like, no, ref didn't take no points. Well, that ref is a jackass.
Yeah, I mean, it was the game changer.
Oh, and then as we're complaining about the refs, I got to go back to earlier in the night, and this got to me, and I'm going back to the co-main event real quick. I believe in the third and final round, Eddie Alvarez grabbed the cage about 6 times, and the ref was a couple times.
I think it was like 3 times.
Well, there were 3 times that the ref warned him, and then there were 3 times where the ref was on one side, and if you look at the other hand, Eddie was still grabbing it. So I counted 6 cage grabs, 3 warnings. Did you see then the next fight? Dominic Cruz grabbed the cage twice, and you could hear Herb Dean plainly go, I will take a point. Where the hell was that the fight before?
Yeah, well, was he the ref in the other fight, though?
No, but it was amazing
So-
how that could dictate his
Yeah.
refereeing later. Right away, you already had your warning, and one ref's letting it slide.
It could, and this is what gets me, because when they go to these different towns, even when they come here to New Mexico, they usually bring in one head ref, whether it be John McCarthy,
Dan Mergliata or Herb Dean.
or Herb Dean, and then they let the local refs do a lot of the undercards, a lot of their work, and they're excited about it and stuff like that. But that's where my issue is. How does the UFC, being that they're the flag bearer, they're the top of the game, how do they know these refs are competent enough to be in there judging the highest level of mixed martial arts?
It's like with the NFL that the officials, I believe, are part-timers, and I always think that so much money goes into this, something so crucial. I understand each athletic commission has their own set of refs and judges or whatnot, but I would be happy if the UFC got, Mergliata, Big John, Herb Dean, their top 4, that you see, and they hired them on as you are UFC refs. And they just kept them year-round to do all the shows because they are the best and because this is the higher leagues. And you can't have some of the moments we've had with Kate Winslow and other, Mario Yamasaki tap-outs.
I say let's have 4 to 5 refs. The 5th one is always the rotating one, just in case somebody can't make a show. Well, guess what? You're the fill-in. You're the on-call ref. Just like there's on-call nurses, there's on-call police officers. Everybody's on-call in a job. And these guys are going to get paid X amount of dollars. There's no more bitching, no more complaining that the refs for title fights don't get paid shit. These are the 4 refs. These are the events you're going to get. You're going to go around the road. Do you want this job?
I think it's that much money. It's that high of a priority. We're trying to make it that professionalized. It definitely needs to happen. We're going to keep going with this event.
Well, where does Travis Brown go?
Where does Travis Brown go? I don't even know. I'd have to go look at a heavyweight lineup, but there's such a mix. You could throw anybody out there. It seems to be a rotating door of people. You never know. They could throw them against Dos Santos. You could go up, you could go down, you could go left, you could go right.
With him, I think he's the gatekeeper, so I think you can go up, down, left, or right. I really do. I don't think he's ever going to be at the top, but I don't think he'll ever be at the very, very bottom.
Every time he's got to that number 1 contender spot, he's had some troubles, and like you said, gatekeeper, so they could throw him in a lot of different places. I don't got a straight-up prediction for that one.
And Meathead, what do you think's going to happen with him?
We've talked about this. Spike TV, returning home, Bellator. I wouldn't be surprised if Bellator throws more money at him than the UFC because he's been on this downswing. He hasn't improved as much, but to Spike and to Bellator, he would have name recognition adding value.
He has name recognition, plus there's bits of this fight that he was winning, that he was
He
actually
did look
putting
good.
it on him.
I'm surprised the beard is still on Brown's face. He got chin checked a couple hard times.
And who knows what kind of change this fight would have been or could have taken had those two eye pokes not happened.
And you also just got to think about Mitrione, too, just as a fighter. Every fight has been in that octagon.
Yep.
So we're talking about him as a free agent. Is there some nostalgia, some reason to say, I felt this is the big leagues, I came from the NFL, this is the big leagues, and I want to stay here to prove myself.
We'll see what happens there. The next fight, Francisco Trinaldo,
he put it on and put the pressure on Ross Pearson. Pearson himself said he was a slow starter, and I thought this was a bad matchup. Trinaldo quietly has won 5 in a row. Ugly style, supposedly a Brazilian kickboxing champion. His striking, though, is... He gets in a brawl with people and he hurts you. He's strong.
And I went with him based on what you had to say. I didn't ever watch him on the Ultimate Fighter Brazil or anything like that. So I didn't know what to expect. For being, 37, 38 years old?
38 years old.
Holy cow. Ross Pearson doesn't have much left.
Nah, Pearson would be better served back at home at Bama or something. Yeah. Because he's
take a role in the UFC in the UK, the UFC UK offices. He's done enough in the sport for the UFC, for the UK. Have him be an ambassador of sort. Have him be the Matt Hughes out there.
If somebody's going to stand and bang with him, he has a chance. But it's weird because he's such a slow starter, but he hits so hard. He's an enjoyable guy to watch, but. Again, this looks like it's a downhill for him. He needs, and sadly, with being with Alliance for so many years, the one thing we've all been looking for is will he add more movement to the game, a la Dominic Cruz, and it just hasn't translated.
Yeah, it was a good fight for what it was, but overall, where do these two both go?
Trinaldo, like I said, I think he's on the verge of top 10, and Pearson is a gatekeeper who I think of him fighting, John McDessie, Sam Stout, another striker that we're going to make it fun. If it's something like that, you could see it. Then McDessie would be a good fight.
Let's make fun fights with him.
Fun fights with him. That's what you could do.
We're no longer looking at him as anything more than let's have some fun.
Exactly. Jolo's on again. You know what I mean? A fun fight.
Let's open the curtain jerker of a pay-per-view or of a UFC.
Of a UFC, or it's
card.
leading a prelim into... It's something that's going to be fun. He's going to put eyes on there. Who was the most impressive fighter of the night, though, to you?
I'll get to that.
No, my guy, we're talking about it next. Patrick Cote shocked the shit out of me. I thought Ben Saunders would be able to get the fight to the ground.
It did.
Get a submission.
He
got popped. He almost got submitted with an armbar. What the heck is happening? Every time Saunders gets a roll going, ever in his career, he hits a roadblock worse than Travis Brown.
Well, a lot of people don't realize also that Patrick Cote holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And they were ready. They were ready for the rubber guard. They were absolutely ready. They played it to perfection, the way they rode him, the way they worked the guard and the position over submission worked out 100%. He even said it in the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. He said they were ready for his rubber guard. They were ready for his movement on the ground. So I think that's where they trained. I think they knew the fight was eventually going to hit the floor, be it Ben Saunders getting it there or Patrick Cote taking it there.
But you got to admit, probably when they hit the ground and Saunders was on top in half guard, you thought Cote was about fucked.
Yeah, that, and honestly, I said, no problem. Even with Ben on his back, I thought no problem. Because he is the most active UFC fighter, striking-wise, working submission-wise, slick submission, that a lot of these guys just have trouble with that 10th Planet style. Heck, I have trouble with it so bad. I mean, I get stretched dirty with it, but it's technically, and I'm not in MMA. I can only imagine that's what 10th Planet style is about: is working for MMA, working for a street fight. That's why they don't wear a gi. Also, is they're using it for the techniques for fighting, for the cage. If you go back and listen to Eddie Bravo's interviews before that, it's for real life. It's for MMA. It's for mixed martial arts. So for him not to have that answer, it was kind of amazing to see, and it was the shock. It was a shocking fight. The next fight that I want to talk about, the the guy who all of a sudden came out of nowhere, and I know it was on the prelims, and I just want to touch on it. To me, he was the most impressive. Ed Herman.
I had no clue he was so big. When he fought Jacare in Strikeforce, I'm like, how big is Jacare? Jacare looked huge compared to Herman, and Herman just made Boach, who I thought was a big middleweight, look like a midget.
Herman looking huge, fighting Tim Boach's fight, got into the clinch. Boach with uppercuts, Herman with a big knee. Herman out Boach's Boach in the clinch. A great debut at light heavyweight in the UFC for Herman. A depleted division, starving for some competitive fights, starving for some notoriety as a division. Herman is a name. You can build off that name. We've known him since Tough Season 3. Another great addition to that division. Keep moving forward. On the card, we also saw a ton of late replacements. One who did not have a good night was RFA, former lightweight champion Mehdi Baghdad, took on tough grappler Chris Wade. Wade knew he had to get the Muay Thai striker to the ground, did so, found the choke, did it quickly. Chris Wade 4-0 in the UFC, a dangerous grappler to have to deal with it. A short notice, former RFA champion who had a tremendous night was Luke Cool Hand Sanders. Played it cool, played it calm, collected. Maximo Blanco was wild. Sanders kept the technical, hurt Blanco on the feet, finished it with a submission on the ground. Can't wait to see Sanders down a weight class where he should be at bantamweight. What also happened? Paul Felder, Darren Cruikshank, thought that'd be a great striking battle. It was back. It was fourth. The Irish Dragon, Paul Felder, found the opening to get the back. Like so many other strikers, Cruikshank unable to hold it together on the ground. Felder, his first career win via the submission. That was a big round. Alair Latifi blasted Sean O'Connell with a huge right hand to the jaw 30 seconds in. Latifi got the win. Charles Rosa had 3 opponent switches on him. He pulls out a unanimous decision over a hard-swinging, hard-hitting Kyle Bosniak, who was not able to get on pace. A lot of jabs, a lot of front kicks. Charles Rosa, another guy, 2-0 in the UFC. Rob Font, also 2-0 in the UFC. Bantamweight division needs contenders. This is a striker. Took down George Roop in his first fight with the TKO. Here he gets Joey Gomez down with the TKO in the second round. Rob Font, a dangerous striker, coming out of that Sit Yo Tongue gym in Boston. And then Francimar Barajosa showed off better striking ability than we thought he had, was able to nullify the game of Elvis Mutapshits, took a unanimous decision from the former MFC middleweight champion who just looked out of sorts at 201 pounds trying to fight up at light heavyweight. Mutapshits, can't wait to see him back at middleweight. That was our coverage. UFC Fight Night 81 that took place in Boston. And the DC Life Uncensored will be back after these messages.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
We're back with the DC Life Uncensored, Micah Frankel, and I'm about to bring in Joe Blake, Fit NHB striking coach. Sal's getting more coffee. So let's talk to Joe. How you doing, Joe?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. If people don't know, you're also the husband of Amber Brown. She had a huge weekend. You were out there. So what was it like being in the crowd? You watch your wife fight.
Man, it was amazing, man. I really don't have any doubts in her, her abilities. So, like, when it comes to her fighting, I just want to sit back and just watch. You know, I'm really emotional when it comes to it. So I'm really tied into it. I'm really involved. But it's just it's crazy, man. That fight was really, really small. It was probably it seemed like a big King of the Cage event. It was real intimate. But it was just that energy was crazy, man. There was a lot of Bay Area people out there. It was nice.
from where you were, from watching, did you believe Amber had the choke? Were you surprised when Chino tapped?
Oh no, I knew. Amber was just taking the time. I could just see the strength. She had nothing on Amber. Amber was just kicking back, just working the body. Everybody thought she was going to go for that head and arm triangle, but really all she was doing was just keeping her arm up and just working the body and trying to get damage, But it was, I knew just from as soon as they locked up, I just seen that Amber was just on another level. And I know Amber's technique and her knowledge of the game is just by far superior to everybody in that division. I feel like as far as stand up to ground to just overall MMA game is just ridiculous. So, I just had no doubts that she was going to just come out with that win. And another thing with Amber, she doesn't have to go for multiple. She doesn't always have to go to her dominant position. She's good off of her back. So I knew once she had her arm around that neck, she just had to muscle it, and then she had that shit.
So from that win now, I don't know if you guys got any word from Invicta that night, but is the title fight next? Is Ayaka Hamasaka? Amber called for it.
That's all we want, man. That's all we want. We're not going to go for nobody else, man. Everybody got called up for this fight on this late replacement. Everybody got called up on the Invicta roster, and they all backed down, man. As far as I know, Jin Yu, there's been multiple times where Jin Yu's backed down on Amber. There's Alita Gray's backed down on Amber when she was going to go to 105. There's all these girls. They say they're fighters, but when it comes down to it, man, they're cherry picking. They want to get the easy fight, Like Amber's been wanting to fight anybody. She called out Ayaka Hamasaka back in the day. I think even before the Liz McCarthy fight, because she just wanted to fight the best. That's all Amber's ever wanted to do is fight the best. She's not here to, try to make a career. She's here to make a statement, find out who she is. She doesn't second guess nothing, She doesn't second guess herself. That's one, she's the only real fighter that I've ever seen in the game right now. All these other people are trying to get people on when they're down and out or against, right after they get a fight, they'll call them for a fight against, on short notice or something, It's just, these girls aren't about to fight. They aren't about fighting, as far as I feel, as far as Amber feels. So really, it's just this mental edge Amber has, and the physical, the overall MMA game is just by far, I think that she can just take out anybody in this game, especially 105.
And that night, after the win, any word from Invicta? Was there any inkling from them of what's next?
As far as we know, the title, man, that's what we heard is this fight, especially with the impressive, that Shino's never really been stopped like that. She didn't have any dominant position in that fight whatsoever. Even with the takedown, it was a trip takedown, but Amber didn't care because she's good off of her back, And Shino thought she was she thought she was in the advantaged position, but little does she know she's just in a trap, It's like an octopus, Amber might not have a belt, she might not have any grappling credentials, but she's rolled with some legit girls, and they couldn't tap her barely, And back when she first started, man, it's just crazy, dude. Just the more fights, everybody will start to see a little bit more of her game. But she's gotten as far as she has without showing anything, Micah. She hasn't shown anything in any of her fights. She hasn't shown any stand-up. She hasn't showed anything, her grappling, as soon as you only see one position because she dominates from that position and it's done. She doesn't have to go through her whole textbook, her whole notebook of tricks, that she doesn't have to show all of her tricks to any of her future opponents, because they're not going to know what they're going to run into. So it's just amazing that she's able to get these wins so quick, and then with little damage. She hasn't even gotten touched by any of her opponents, ever since the what's her name, Emu Fujino fight was the only last damage she's only had, and then a little bit in the Kikuyu fight, but she hasn't gotten touched by any of these girls so far. They're supposed to be the best girls in the world, but they're just losing. They're going down, man. Chino had more experience than Amber too, She might not have fought the best opponents in her MMA career. But she has kickboxing. She's been fighting professionally since she's 15. She's also been fighting since she's I heard 8 years old or something like that. You know, she has way more experience. Amber just started doing this shit 5 years ago. And it's just amazing what not doubting yourself, the right coaching, man. Like, that's another thing. Our coaches are true to us. They don't hold back. They don't tell us what we want to hear. They tell us what we need to hear, you know. If that means retire, if they tell us to fucking retire, we fucking retire, man. Like, that's what your coaches need to tell you. Some of these coaches let you guys get these fighters get strung out, man, and fucking just these hopeless dreams that are going nowhere, dude. But our staff's as real as it gets, man. You know, like, it's just we don't sugarcoat shit, man. And we might have this rough mentality, but it's like, at the end of the day, man, that's what you need to be in this fight game. It's a mental game. It's a mental along as physical, you know. And I think that's what a lot of these coaches are lacking, is real input, real emotion with the fighters, real love for the fighters, you know. And we have that, you know, and it's good.
How big can you imagine a title fight being? Just even for Invicta, because I feel like this past weekend, Souza versus Bennett was an afterthought. But I might be being a homer thinking that with Amber versus Hamasaka, that's a big fight, even on a global scale. Amber and her time out there in Pancrase, the fight of the night with McCarthy right away, the 2 dominant wins consecutively. I'd say that she's really put a name out there for herself. And then thinking about, with that notoriety from Japan and taking on Hamasaka.
It makes sense, man. It makes sense. Amber has a big Japan following, pretty big. I mean, for being an American, you know, there's a lot of she's liked a lot by a lot of Japanese out there, man. So, like, this fight makes sense, and Amber respects the Japanese culture so much, man. She'd fight out there more if she wasn't signed with Invicta, you know. And we didn't make good money when we were out there, but you know, like, it wasn't about that. It was about the you know, just fighting at Pancrase was just you know, like, that was the you know, the cream of the crop, dude. That was just the name, man, itself was everything for Amber. So that's why she took it, and it just it makes sense, dude. Like, the Ayaka Hamasaka, she took out Ayaka. She's took out Shino. Shino's a Japanese fighter also. She has a big Japanese following. This Ayaka fight makes sense right now. Amber's in a perfect place right now in Invicta. She has the most momentum going in. She's undefeated at 105. She's never been beat at that weight, at her right weight class. And when she fought Emi Fujino, her only loss was at 115. You know, that's what people fail to realize too. She's undefeated at 105. You know, she has not been even scathed at 105. She hasn't been touched at 105.
We love Amber. We know she wants to Hamasaka Ayama and take that title. For you, Joe, also, we know that you're doing your personals, putting together and doing your boxing striking. So tell us about you as a coach right now.
Pretty much, I'm focused on just mainly boxing right now. I do a lot of the mitt work for some of the fighters, not really everybody, but you know, I'm just a helping hand, man, trying to help out anybody and everybody, even if they don't want to do it, man. I'm trying to get their asses hit in the mitts, man. I think that's a big help in somebody's game as far as, like, depth perception and actual fight. Learning how to fucking, you know, hit combinations and shit. A lot of these cage fighters they have a lazy mentality, so you got to kind of get that boxing mentality. I feel like boxers have a better work ethic than anybody, man. So I try to keep that boxing. That's what we try to do. Keep it fit, is that boxing mentality and training, going with your hands, just flowing with your hands. Keep those hands going. So, like, I just feel like, man, our team, man, is just going good, dude.
And then about the team. We know Amber going to be a world champion here. Again, that title shot soon.
Yeah, she will.
Brenda, 2 regional titles. Tim Means, huge waves making in the welterweight division. Ray Borg, hot prospect. Those are the big names. Who's the name we need to watch out for that you see in the gym every day working that we don't know about, that we need to look out for?
Man, there's so many good guys, man. We got some amateurs that are coming up. We got like Sherwin, Sean. The vibe right now is just everybody on our roster. Charlie Williams, he's a pro coming up. We have that Jerome Rivera when he gets back with his stuff, man. That guy's right there at the UFC, man. Everybody knows that guy's legit. You know, he just needs to get focused and just get in here. And I think everybody, man, with the momentum we have right now, the vibe is just unreal. It's just good, dude. Every day we come in there, we just want more. I regret, Sundays, man, and we have to take days off from the gym. I want to get back in there and just train, dude. Like, the vibe's just real genuine. The time we spend there is just focused on just learning. The vibe is good. Ray's gonna kill it, man. Amber's gonna kill it. Timmy's gonna kill it, dude. Everybody knows, man. You know, we're gonna make a statement this year that the Wild Bunch is gonna totally be on one this year, man. We're gonna let everybody know that we're on the maps for sure.
I know, Timmy, this is a fight. Him and Cerrone, it's been a fight, you know, close proximity, so we've talked about it for a long time. What are your expectations for that bout?
Dude, you know, what is everybody's expectations, man? What does everybody really feel deep down? Everybody knows it's gonna stop. It's gonna be in quick, man. There's not gonna be no war. It's going to be stopped quick. Timmy's going to break him quick, dude. We all know how weak Donald is mentally. You know, like, the guy's a badass fighter. I'm a big fan of Donald Cerrone. His style is like no other at that, you know. He's like no other at 55. You know, I love his Muay Thai, but, like, at the end of the day, man, he doesn't have the fight mentality, man. He's a fighter, but he doesn't have that killer, you know. You know, I really like the guy, but I just feel like Timmy's going to break him. I would say maybe even the first combination, dude. You know, the first left hand that lands to his chin, you know. I just don't see Timmy as a fucking bulldozer, man. Like, people might see a skinny-ass dude, but I'm telling you, I'm 175, man, and I'm a badass boxer. I don't care, you know, like, I'm an amateur, but, like, that motherfucker is bad. He don't play. Nothing he throws is nice, you know. Like, shit, dude. Like, I don't care who it is. There isn't nobody he can't. The only way somebody boxes with Timmy if he fucking plays with them. You know, if not, they're gonna end up on the canvas. You know, and that's just being real. Not even talking, you know, to talk Timmy up. It's just everybody knows. You go in the gym. What is Timmy doing? He's dominating. You know, it's just like Carlos when he was at Fit. You know, same shit. You know, he's the exact same. I think Timmy even has a little bit more sting to his punch than Carlos did. You know, it's just crazy.
Huge
but we all know that Timmy's gonna walk through that motherfucker. That's what I'm telling you right now. My money's on Timmy, straight up.
I gotta tell you too, that's what we were talking about here. I'm expecting a good round, but only a good round. I think Timmy at welterweight with the strength and conditioning. He's too big, too strong for Cerrone to move up this quickly.
Ride, you jump on that motherfucker's back. You can't be a little dude and dominate that cat. It's not like he was at 55, man. Timmy at 55, his chin wasn't holding up the same. You can't even fucking hurt that motherfucker now, dude. I can't even play it. Like, I used to, you know, give him a little run for his money at 55, dude. Like, when he was in around my weight class. But now, that motherfucker's like a tank, dude. And he has he's so good at range, and he doesn't even show any of his skills when he fights. You guys see what he shows, man. But, like, that guy has a sick ground game. His Muay Thai is fucking ridiculous. His elbows are ridiculous. You know, it's crazy. And you know what? He's the biggest dude in our gym. You know, we just got, you know, Dean just came back. He's the biggest dude in our gym, man, and he's the most dominant in our gym. But he works with everybody, man, and you know, that just goes to show you don't need equal sparring partners, man. Timmy's the top dog at our gym, and he works with everybody. I see him sparring knees with Ray. I see him, you know, working with everybody, dude, and it's just like, you know, it's just like, I think it's just really all on the fighter, man, and in the right training, you could do anything. Look how he hasn't even gotten hurt in any of his fights at 70. You know, he's dominated everybody. Magny, he almost beat the shit out of Magny, and the ref fucking stopped it or interrupted it, and then Timmy stopped, and then Magny got the momentum after that, you know. but like he was beating the shit out of Magny.
Just to
You know,
correct you
like-
slightly, Timmy got hurt once. He walked into that elbow from Brown.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. Oh yeah, well, everybody's seen the Brown fight. That was fucking. Yeah,
Amazing.
Brown whipped his ass a little good, man. But right before that, Brown didn't know where he was at.
It was a back and forth
That
war.
was good, man. That was one of the best fights. I could sit there and watch that fight 100 times, man. Even though Timmy lost, but it was just fucking entertainment. Right up to the last shit, right the last choke. It was money, man. It was really entertainment.
Hey, Joe, I got to thank you for the time. It's always great talking to you. I'm going to let you, Amber, and the family get back to enjoying the victory and enjoy your little vacation out there in California. Thank you for the time.
Thanks, brother. Thanks.
Thank you. Everybody,
Bye-bye.
DC Life Uncensored. We'll be back after these messages. I can cut off the end anyway now. I figured out more on my editing stuff on my at home. It lets me like take little segments and cut it out. I was like, yeah, I've always wanted that. That was interesting.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
And we're back. This is the DC Life. I'm Sal Mika, Mike Franco, CageMinds.com. It's that time for the local MMA scene and what's happening around the local MMA scene, plus a little splash of national as well. Micah, run it down for us.
Well, RFA was up in Colorado. We had some Jackson Wink fighters up there. The Curtain Jerker, Andrew Tennyson, Corey Sanhagen. Sanhagen, the main training partner for Dillashaw. And then you had Andrew Tennyson. Submissions, a plethora, trying to throw everything out there. Gogoplata, heel hook, knee bar. It was a grinding experience. 2 rounds to 1, all the submission attempts. Sanhagen gets the victory over a very tough Andrew Tennyson. Tennyson looked gassed, looked tired. It was a year on the shelf. Hopefully he bounces back. His submission game still looked good, and that's what he's known for. You also had Derek Milner up there, and he ended up getting choked out by Brian Camozzi. It was a hard night for Jackson Winks. It was a good night for the Elevation Fight team, but Joran Velevich, something like that, can't mess up his name. He won with a guillotine choke over Benjamin Smith, new RFA welterweight champion. That was Friday night. Saturday, you had Invicta. We talked about Amber Brown, an impressive win. We also got to mention and shout out to the champion retaining, Livio Souza, beating up Deanna Bennett, liver kick, dropped her, punches finished it off. And then one more time, Cyborg is a destroyer. Ibrata Brova tried to clinch, tried to get a takedown, got her face beat up, got dropped, mini Matt Mitrione on her eye. Bianca Brava was 9-1 heading in, 9-2. A lot of people want to criticize Cyborg and the caliber of competition she's taking on, and I'd say a little bit of that is unwarranted. She did beat Marlis Kunin for the title, and of the girls that are in Invicta in the top 10, she's taking out who she can. Bellator secretly has 3 of the top 10 best women at featherweight. Marlis Kunin already has a win over Arlene Blocker-Crow, I think her name is. And then we also got Julia Budd. Julia Budd is the rightful number 1 contender to Cyborg, but she jumped ship, went to Bellator, so the fight can't happen. Invicta's doing what they can. Cyborg was impressive. Cyborg, thank God Holly isn't the champion anymore. She has no initial want to go down to 135 pounds anymore. We'll see what's next for her. It could be a fight with Holly, a super fight one day. That was fun. That was all Saturday, and that was over. I turned it over to Showtime. Heavyweight title of the world, WBC. At least the man got flash and style. Deontay Wilder. I'm becoming a fan of this dude, watching him. Movement, athleticism, some power. He finishes his fights. Arthur, his opponent, I will give that guy credit for toughness. A knockout with a right hand that spun Arthur around, dropped him knocked out. Jokingly, I said in my house, I think he's dead. A couple people actually thought I was being serious. It was a hell of a knockout, and I am a pro wrestling fan, first and foremost. So God love you, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. The stare down, the yelling at each other at the end. That was probably more action than we'll see in their fight. I think, though, all of us American boxing fans can rejoice, because I believe that the new world heavyweight champion is in front of us. Deontay Wilder can finish and will finish Tyson Fury.
I'm going to jump in there and I'm going to say, you know what? That was awesome to see the knockout. Deontay has brought a breath of life, not a fresh air, of life back into the American heavyweight title run, title picture, excitement now building back up. Hell, let's put him in Madison Square Garden. Let's get it old school style and let Deontay become the rightful heavyweight champion
of the world.
I will say this, like I said it before on the podcast, I've said it multiple times. If you can get you these football players that don't go drafted into the NFL, can't make it in an arena league, don't want to make that chump change, don't want to grind out in Canada, and they have a decent chin, you can teach them how to throw punches. These days, you can teach them within 1 to 2 years how to throw punches, how to mix up combinations based on their athleticism, and if they got a chin, you can create yourself a heavyweight champion right now in the sport of boxing. Is it sad or is it a good thing right now?
The state of the heavyweight division, the state of boxing for a while has been sad in of its own, and to put that theory out there, at least it's a theory that would make it more interesting, more relevant. I mean, for the American audience, the Klitschko brothers did not captivate us. This has been a long time. We know that the Klitschko and Fury rematch is what's supposed to happen, but the first fight was atrocious. It was hard to watch. It was so awkward. I mean, and we're looking at MMA. We're capitalizing now guys like Mitrione and Travis Brown, super athletes. That's what they're looking at. And Deontay Wilder fits that mold, and I think it's a revolution for boxing in that aspect. Would it be great if some of these guys would decide to go that way? Who knows what we could see in the future? It's something that almost, I feel like, boxing fell behind in MMA in the aspect of, you look at a team elevation and you look at them and the way that they have the strength, the conditioning, every coach together corresponding and how to put together a system. It feels to me more like a team, whereas boxing has still always been the individual sport. So it would be eye-opening to see them actually go out and recruit. It's something like what actually the WWE does. If you look at their developmental system, they do go to hyper athletes and say, hey, would you like to come try this? Could be something for some boxing trainers to do, somewhat of recruiting to get that kind of athlete in the door. It's a theory, it'd be interesting to see, but at least there's some entertainment now in the heavyweight division. That promo was great. Fury is a character. I just wish he was a better boxer.
Oh, can you see the buildup, if whether it be Showtime or HBO, the face-off type setups that they would have? I don't know if you can do a face-off with them.
It was pretty hard. Jim Gray looked pretty damn scared.
Max Kellerman would get mauled by both of them going after each other. So I don't know. But a 24/7, an all-access type show.
You want to do a stare down with the way media and stuff's going this day? The guy in the middle would need to be Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
He'd use the teeth to keep them apart.
What else is going on locally right now for MMA real quick, or combat sports, I should say.
Or combat sports, well, coming up on the 23rd, next weekend, we got Socorro, Golden Gloves Boxing. We got on the 30th, back in our second stopping grounds, Buffalo Thunder, Fidel Maldonado, taking on Michael Clark. Maldonado is going to be looking for the knockout, as Clark has went down 6 straight times. Fidel hits hard as heck. RedMenace.tv, I'm going to have an interview this week, if you guys want to check that out, with Fidel, getting his thoughts on the upcoming fight. So we move forward. I also know that February 6th, Las Cruces, get ready, Grapple Fest. Love seeing that going on, rolling around on the mats. The following weekend, the 13th, you got the Jacksons MMA series. Can't wait for Nick Urso and Jordan Espinosa. That's a highlight. This card is getting stacked. That will end up happening. on the 13th. And that's really the biggest stuff coming up now. And don't forget, on the 20th, our friends with Legacy Boxing Promotions putting on Rumble at the Rock 2. A stacked card, a stacked year so far coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Any last words before we go for this time around?
Not much, except look out for the fights this weekend. I don't think we got much going on. You can check out WSOF, though, on NBC Sports.
That's it for this week's edition of the DC Life Uncensored. The DC Life is shot every Monday or weekly inside the Fight Shop, New Mexico, 6200 Coors Boulevard Northwest, Suite A4, and it's always up at cageminds.com. We'll talk to you next week.